My name is Nigel Trellis, and I wear many caps. I am a hotel manager, a digital marketer, a finance and accounting professional, and a filmmaker. Everything before filmmaking I do to make a living. Filmmaking I do for love. In terms of what I've done film-wise so far, we've done 2 films, a short by the name of Hooked and a feature by the name of Working Girl. After Working Girl, I took a sort of hiatus and had to take some time to focus on my principal career, which was in the hospitality business. Built my home, settled down, started a family, and now I am pretty much at the point of getting back to my first love, film. We're sitting here on the set of the next short film we're about to produce called No Love Lost, and just about a few weeks from getting started on that. I did the script. It was directed by me with cinematography by Anderson Andrew. It's a pretty simple story. It was based on my observation of a phenomenon where girls, particularly young girls, seem to be hooked on the baddest of guys. And that's what the story was about. For whatever reason, this thing happens, and the young lady is in love with her ex who went to prison for committing some sort of crime. While he was in prison, she had this good guy who takes care of her and all that she needs, and lo and behold, the bad guy is about to be released from jail and she's all too ready to go hook up with him again. And it sort of shows the consequences of being in that type of mindset where you're just hooked on somebody regardless. And not only her, but the good guy suffers quite a bit too. Zero film experience, absolutely zero. I just loved watching movies, and it just dawned on me one day, well, how about I try making some movies of my own? And everything I've done so far has been self-trained, self-taught, learning from other people. Absolutely zero formal filmmaking education. The challenge is, or the biggest challenge, as anybody in this business will tell you, is financing. It is expensive to do this type of stuff. And everything I've done from then to now has been possible only because I have a proper career, which, has enabled me to make a living and luckily be able to fund a lot of this stuff. So the Hooked was done basically on a volunteer basis. Nobody got paid for anything. We used my apartment and people lent us their place, and everybody, it was a sort of charitable, club sort of thing. Working Girl was done more professionally, where everybody was paid, locations were paid for, and you had no clue whether you'd be able to recoup all of this money. So that's the biggest challenge, or was the biggest challenge. The other thing was where the technology was 10, 12 years ago when we did that. Obviously, we couldn't afford to shoot 4K. So as a result of that, the movie didn't go very far with just locally and internet internet availability. So it was something we did out of a passion and out of a love, but in terms of it becoming a major commercial accomplishment, no, it wasn't. Oh, well, that's what the world has come a long way. That's 6K Canon 500 Mark II. I mean, that is Netflix ready, that is digital cinema ready, Canon cinema lens set. You know, things have changed a lot in 10 years, and what you can afford to do, what the average filmmaker can afford to do now, it was impossible back then. So, you know, that gives me some confidence, at least in theatrical distribution. Whatever we produce now, if it's, you know, if it's edited, colored, and otherwise done correctly, there should be no question about whether it will be appropriate for the big screen. My advice would be to collaborate. It is very difficult for one man to do anything on his own. I mean, you talk about all this equipment and stuff. That the equipment is nothing without personnel, and you gotta have DPs, you gotta have gaffers, you gotta have the grip men, sound men, you gotta have editors, you gotta have writers. This business is about collaboration. So anybody, I mean, and there are a few of us in this island, and I would say the only hope for any of us is collaboration. You've got to work together and pool and share resources, and that's how we're gonna start making an impact locally, much less regionally and internationally. I think all that's needed is one commercial success, one single one, and it will energize the entire industry from school all the way up. And that's part of the reason why I have come back to film and have invested so much in it, because I believe that there is a gaping hole in, you know, there is a gaping need for entertainment that's homegrown, and it's about local and Caribbean stories and life experience here. We have nothing. We watch American stuff, we watch African stuff, but there is no Caribbean stuff to watch. So, and for whatever reason, the people who are trying are not finding the success to continue and to thrive. So for me, what will change the whole scenario is somebody or a group of people to come out and just start making commercial successes of this thing. I think you have to start where you're at. If you don't start where you're at, you will never learn. In this business, you learn by experience. You try to light a scene, and you can't go to a Hollywood set and light a scene if you've never lit a scene in a little cottage somewhere. You gotta have practice. So my advice, you don't sit and wait. You keep doing whatever you can do with whatever you have, and you learn along the way. If you get a chance for exposure to bigger stuff, better equipment, and, you know, more professional environments, you take the chance. But I don't believe in sitting around and waiting for nothing. If you can shoot something every single day, by all means shoot it, because you are gaining experience and you're gaining knowledge along the way. I don't know that is the purpose of film. Maybe documentary film, you know, you have a space for that in documentary pieces. I am not a documentary filmmaker. I'm a narrative filmmaker. And for me, if you want to get serious into this thing, you've got to make narrative films, or films that excite an audience and make an audience want to pay to consume it. And in the end, it has to make commercial sense for you. So for me, in the space in which I am, narrative filmmaking, it's not so much about heritage and culture as it is about making sure that this expensive thing pays for itself and generates some profit. Right, the private sector can help by investing. But to invest, they will have to have some assurance that there is something in it for them. I think things like product placement, things like supporting filmmakers who have an audience to which the private sector investor can market to. All of those are ways in which they can help. What most people would probably think of is, okay, they finance a film. But I don't see much of that happening unless somebody or some group of people start making this thing a successful venture. Then that will encourage individuals with capital to risk their capital on it. Otherwise, I think the more practical ways of the private sector helping are being able to market whatever product or service they offer via us as filmmakers. And that will come when we as filmmakers have an audience that we can then sort of allow private sector interests to market to. I think film and stories, not only film, whatever form of storytelling, people are interested in it from very young. It's just a fact of life. We all love storytelling. So in a way, they're already interested in it, and they might not express it by way of film, but they might be doing drama in school or, whatever other way. To get them interested in film particularly, we got to have an industry, first and foremost. We've got to have an operating and a functioning industry. Otherwise, there is nothing for people to get interested in. So until that time comes where we have an industry, sort of something similar to the Nigerian industry, where people are actually churning out material on a regular basis, I think that's the first thing that needs to happen. And then maybe you introduce it into the school curriculum and make it a more formal thing where students can pursue this as an area of study for a serious career. I think for practical purposes, having an industry that I think we share a kindred spirit across the islands, but because we're so separated geographically, it can be a bit difficult. How do you, let's say, have one association in Antigua and in Jamaica? Look how much water is between the two places. I don't see how it will work. So we can collaborate in ways that are practical. We can collaborate on screenwriting, for example. You don't have to be in the same geographical space to do that. We can collaborate in terms of sharing human resources. But in terms of the actual production plant, you can only have one in Antigua or one in another island. You can't pick up your equipment and drive to Jamaica and shoot something, right? So I think we are challenged in the geographical separation, but there are a bunch of ways in which we can collaborate.
The short film Hooked. Tell me a little bit about that. How was the preparation for it? Who wrote the